I thought I would do a quick video about how to find the right trade-off for your project between uh, building for scalability and at the same time saving resources, right? Time-wise, money-wise, and so on. So there's a lot of nuance, a lot of strong opinions out there, both from engineers, founders, and so on. One part of them says, hey, use Kubernetes and do all these things to achieve a higher scalability for your software project. And those opinions are both right and wrong because everything has nuance, right? And the reason for that is uh, while it's true for some teams, it's wrong for other teams. Let me explain. It's true for those teams that Kubernetes and all these scalability tools and approaches actually make a lot of sense if your current team already has that knowledge and expertise and is able to execute fast and resource efficient on it, right? So because if you can and you don't really need much more resources, then why not? Right, so that's kind of, I think that makes a lot of sense, but this is one point a lot of people leave out when discussing that. So if your current team already has strong knowledge, right, then of course use these tools, right, because other things that may be less scalable and your team maybe even have less experience in, then could even take more time and of course also more maintenance, and then later on when you actually need scalability also cause more pain, right? So that's that point. On the other end, of course, if your team doesn't have the experience to use certain tools that help you with scalability or certain architecture choices, right, then please don't, right? Because if you do, then you lose a lot of time and resources, which means money wise, and you also lose focus and a hold, also a grasp of what really matters when building your software. Because once you go down that route and you don't have that expertise already within your team, and you don't need that scalability yet, of course. So that's also another point to consider. Or you don't need it in the next 6 months for sure. Don't assume, right? Because you don't know if you have 1,000 MAUs, like monthly active users or whatever, right? Don't be too optimistic about it. Always go with your current state and what you think is very likely to happen, right? Because it always takes a lot of maintenance and resources on your end to achieve that scalability. So if your team doesn't have the experience already within uh, your organization, then of course go with something they already have experience in, even if that means it's less scalable, right? Because for most projects, whatever you choose, right, if it's just a simple virtual machine or whatever, right, with all the pain points that come along with it, from manual deployment and more difficult maintenance and so on, it's usually still the better, cheaper, faster alternative up to a certain point, right? And once you get to the point where you actually need more scalability, then you already know, okay, now we need something like this. We also have most likely more resources to achieve this. And you still are usually able, especially when it's about these kind of things, are able to change that, right? In a gradual rollout kind of manner, right? Like depending on how you did it, of course, right? But there are a lot of approaches that allow you to have a less painful migration later on, right? Of course, I don't want to oversimplify it. There are a lot of hiccups along the way, but that's usually, or in almost all cases, the better approach if your team doesn't have the experience, right? Which is okay and a lot of time the case. But if you already have, of course, as mentioned, the Kubernetes experience and so on, then why not? Right. So I think I just wanted to share that in hopes that it might be meaningful to some teams.